Anyway, the first agenda item, I'll read it and we'll see how far we can get. Consideration of possible action on communication from Alder Johnson, District 9, to consider a 2020 fee waiver for the parklet fee utilizing CARES Act funding or other available fund sources from June 29 Common Council meeting. Good. Mr. Johnson, good to see you.
Hello, Chairman. So essentially, City Council passed an ordinance that would the installation of parklets in parking stalls. With that comes an annual permit fee of $200. That was the fee that was approved as part of that ordinance passage. So the nature of this request is recognizing the urgency to create outdoor dining spaces for some of our restaurants here in the community. The request is for us to find some funding as a way to waive that fee. And I don't think it's just a matter of like waiving it. I think we actually have to pay it. And then wherever it goes within the Public Works Department is where it goes. So it was a request to perhaps look at CARES Act funding, or if there is another funding source that would allow us to waive it for this year. So if this pandemic persists and the problem is still there next year, of course, I may come before you and make a similar request if there's a funding source for that. But especially the parklets for their installation, it does cost a fair amount to construct and have these installed as well. So I think as many barriers that we can remove up front, the better this first year, recognizing that there still is a burden for those businesses to carry to be able to get these parklets in place. So this is just, again, trying to eliminate one of those possible, also recognizing that the year is already half over. So if we can, find a way to make businesses whole in the permit fee, it'd be useful. And I don't expect that there would be, high demand for this. If by the end of this year, if we can find a couple businesses to subscribe to this program and actually install the parklets, I'd be quite satisfied with that. So we're not talking about a ton of money here, but I think in this environment, every little bit helps right now.
Kevin, you got some ideas where we're going to get the money to cover this? Cheryl? Oh, Kevin, you on?
Am I coming through okay?
Yeah, now you are.
Yes.
Now you are.
Okay, all right.
Good.
I'm in the bunker. So one of the frustrations I guess we've been having a little bit with the CARES money is the Federal Register has still not yet been published. And so in terms of where we can exactly allocate, we believe this is something, just like the programs that we proposed, we believe that they will be eligible in terms of activities, maybe some tweaks here and there. But we don't have the Federal Register rules to confirm, which is frustrating because I think we don't want to spend money, the CARES money, and get it and then find out it's ineligible and then find out a way to have to pay it back. To me, that would be a worst case scenario. So I think, we would look at perhaps paying that, from CARES money. It still could be a few weeks, if not months, before we get the official guidance on that. Internally, we could work with the parking division to talk about, the timeliness of the payment. I would hope, or anticipate, as long as we could square up by the end of the fiscal year. Okay? And if not, then I would go back and probably talk about and potentially look at the tax increment districts that cover them as another alternative source. Again, it's not going to be a substantial amount of money, but I would potentially support allocate some funds for this. We're going to have to come back to this body to make some changes to that CARES funding. I think we found, two things. One, using some of those funds for election work would be an ineligible activity. With that, the city was fortunate enough to receive a grant to help us with the election. So we can reallocate those funds. So I would support putting those back in. And then I think having a discussion with our parking division and team at Public Works to see if that's something that we could just maybe true up at the end of the year, just in terms of a timing.
Okay.
How much?
Barb, please.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'm really in support of the parklets, and I'm in support of the idea of waiving that permit fee for this year. And again, as Alder Johnson said, I don't think it's going to be thousands of dollars here. If you've seen some of the pictures Alder Johnson has posted on about parklets, some of them are pretty extensive. It's going to cost some money to put those up. And so I am fully in favor of waiving it and finding any way possible that we could maybe work with parking just to say, can you hold off? Can you just wait? And I don't see why they would say no to that. I would certainly add my voice to Alder Johnson's if he needs me to. Thank you.
With the motion, I think besides the CARES Act alternative, we should mention that we'll address it another way if we have to. In other words, TIP funds or whatever.
Yeah.
Either way, we're going to take care of it. So,
Okay.
so I don't want to isolate. Well, it's got to be CARES money. What happens if we don't get it? So let's make sure that we recovered either way.
Okay. Can I ask
And
a
it does
question?
say, oh,
Yes.
I'm sorry, but it does say in the motion or other available funding
Right.
sources.
Yeah,
So
but
it's covered.
yeah, as
Right.
long as the motions that are made say that as well. That's all.
Got it. Okay.
Kathy, please.
Question. These parklets look pretty awesome. So is this something we already allow in Green Bay, or was it passed at the city council and maybe I missed it, or how does that work?
Mr.
Or is
Johnson.
that the $200 you're talking about, Brian, to do
Yeah.
it?
So city council did adopt an ordinance that would allow the installation of the parklets. And as part of that, you establish the permit fees to be able to install them. And the permit fee was established at $200. So the business owner would still have to, pay for the construction and installation of the parklet, but it's the permit fee that I'm asking the RDA to find a way to cover.
Okay.
Yep.
And Brian, I'm in full support of this. Any way we can make it easier for these businesses to expand out time outside right now is awesome.
Kathy, I hear a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the waiving of the $200 fee and the CARES Act, cover it, and if that doesn't work, we'll find another way.
Okay. There's a second?
I'll second that, Gary.
Okay, second motion made by Kathy, second by Matt.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we shall vote. All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 2.
Nice job, Brian. Thanks.
Absolutely. Consideration of possible action and proposed changes to the policies and procedures of the Commercial Facade Improvement Grant Program. Yes,
So that'd be me.
Matt, good.
Hey, Matt.
You hearing me okay?
Yes, excellent.
Great.
Mhm.
All right, so today we are considering some changes to our facade grant program. You're all aware we've had this program for a while. It funds facade improvements for businesses. It has funded both the building materials cost. So for instance, new windows, new doors, but it also funds labor costs. It is a federally funded program. We cover these grants through our CDBG allocation that we get from HUD. As a federal program, we're required to ensure compliance with the Taken Wage Act. And sorry, Debbie, did you have something?
No, you were just faded out.
You faded out, yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. I was just mentioning, as a federally funded program, we are required to comply with the Davis-Bacon Prevailing Wage Act, which means that labor costs associated with this grant are typically a lot higher than otherwise would be. Staff time dedicated towards ensuring compliance with those requirements is also, there's quite a bit of it. And so what we are actually proposing today is to change the grant program so we would auction costs with this grant and no longer funding labor costs. So that by making that change, we should probably expect much lower overall project costs as well as less staff time. We would also anticipate by making this change, we'd probably see higher quality building materials with projects. Currently, we get a lot of applications that have lower quality building materials, and so we would be a little bit stricter moving forward with this change.
So Matt, when you say construction, you're doing the construction material.
Correct. Just
okay.
the materials themselves.
Yep. Yep. Sound like this could simplify your life a little bit.
I
Yeah.
think it would simplify staff time as well as the.
Okay.
Well, can I ask,
Oh, sorry.
so what will that mean then to the amount that we're funding?
I don't know if it'll have a major impact. We would hope to see higher quality building materials with projects, which would.
I guess I'm not understanding why though we think we're a higher quality building.
Because labor's less. Because labor will be less.
Right, but I guess what kind of labor? You know, skilled labor? I mean, you know, anything that's a federally funded program, in my view, we should be paying prevailing wage. So, you know, I guess I'm just a little surprised by it.
Olderdorf?
I'm trying to understand what Kathy just said, because it says the grant program does not labor costs. So it used to, right?
Currently, right now, it does. It reimburses both labor and construction materials. And so we would be proposing.
I'm sorry. So we still could choose to reimburse labor, but we're proposing to just do the construction costs or the building material costs. Is that correct?
Right. Just materials only, no longer funding labor. The labor would be covered by the grantee, the applicant.
I just feel like we're going to take away money that would be authorized, because isn't labor usually more expensive than the materials?
Depends on the project, but oftentimes it is.
I mean, I did my kitchen and I did my bathroom, and labor was well over 50%. So I guess I just want to make sure that the people that we're not providing less money to the people that are applying because it's more work.
And Kathy, did you comply with the Davis-Bacon prevailing wage requirements on your kit?
Yes, I did. No,
you file the paperwork to prove that?
It's a federally funded program, so don't you have to meet those requirements? I guess I just don't want to see us reduce the amount that we're paying to the loans, and I can't help but think we're going to give them less money because we're only going to pay for one half of the part of it.
If I could interject, I think one of the things that we discussed with this is that one of the things, you know, our grants are capped, right? I mean, so we have a certain amount of money that we can give, and there's a match required. And so by us saying, look, we're going to take labor out of the equation, our thought is that within that cap, because if you're going to put labor in the equation, right, it brings it up to the Davis-Bacon, the prevailing wage, which in some cases is fair, and in other cases, as we found out with some other things, right? I mean, there's very few categories of like labor in there, and so it doesn't quite translate to like, okay, what exactly the individuals are doing. And so for some, the materials don't cost that much, but when you add in the labor and kick in the Davis-Bacon requirements, all of a sudden the cost goes way up, and now they can't do the project because they can't even take the money to begin with. And so if we decide to back out the labor, and it's up to them to decide, you know, how they want to fund or pay for it. I mean, labor is going to be labor in terms of the market rate around here, but that would allow them to shift that money or within that cap to strictly materials. And so I think where Mr. Buchanan was saying is that, look, because that they're still probably going to go for that amount if they have the funds to be able to match. They might be able to then use some higher quality materials as part of that project.
The end result could look more attractive. It could be a nicer project.
It could, but it also could prevent people from getting the amount that they had gotten before. I guess I would like to see us take the last 4 or 5 projects and apply, and what would have happened.
I think if you were to take the last 4 or 5 cost to the applicant would be much lower this way, because they're still on the hook for all the costs above and beyond the grant amount and that match requirement. So if you were to take away the Davis-Bacon requirements, the total cost for the applicant would probably be a lot less.
Interesting.
So exactly, can you give us an example? I mean, of something that because this is, can you give us an example of what you're talking about?
Well, for instance, we've funded the Rum Runners facade recently. You might list windows and kind of a total storefront redesign. Moving forward with the new proposed requirements, we would fund the cost for those windows, but we would not fund the labor cost. If we funded the labor cost under Davis-Bacon would be a lot higher, so high that the grant amount would not offset that total cost. Instead, the grantee would be on the hook for that additional cost.
But I guess I would like to see, before, this is my recommendation, is that we refer it back and we run this through some examples. I mean, I want to see when you say they're going to pay more, show me that. I don't get it. Go ahead.
Alder Dorf, please.
Well, I kind of get it.
Debbie second, sorry.
Okay. I understand it, because if they're having to, use the Davis-Bacon Act, which I'm just looking up here, the wages are probably higher than maybe the average labor wage that's being paid in the area. And then they need to use the more grant funds for labor. And so I think this is probably a good idea to have them do the, match the labor, do whatever, but use the grant funding for materials. They will get higher quality materials. They will still probably ask for the same amount of money, but using better materials. That's my thoughts.
Deb, please.
I was just going to say that if you did an example, if you wanted an example and you put the labor cost as, this is the labor cost as it would be if we just hired market rate labor to this project. This is the cost that it will be if you use the Davis-Bacon wage. And the difference between is what they're talking about, net. That nets to the borrower to be able to put more money into his project.
But does it also allow them to not hire the skilled labor that they should? Trained people that, I'm.
That doesn't matter. We don't have any, we don't really have a say over the contractor and the quality of the individual contractor that the grantee selects.
So, but with this prevailing wage, you do.
It'd still be the same contractor. It's just the amount that they would have to pay is higher. Same workers, just different rates of pay.
Mm-hmm.
But give me an example of one of those workers. Like, are you talking an electrician? Are you talking a steam fitter? Are you talking, if you're talking about
Everyone.
them,
Every one of them.
and
Yes.
we're okay with money that we're potentially be used for non-skilled workers.
It's
I
not
mean,
used
we're
for
not
the
providing
labor,
money.
Kathy.
Pardon?
The money's not used for the labor.
Right. Money's not.
We're not paying for any labor under this proposal.
Oh, that's right. We stopped paying for the labor, but we may be giving less.
All right, I'm going to try
It's going to
working
be,
through a math set, hopefully not complicated. And Matt, you can correct me because, I mean, you're the guru on this. But my understanding for this program, the client, the business, pays 25%, and the RDA, these funds, pay 75% of the project, correct? So let's just say we have, make it simple, a $20,000 project. The client, the business is willing to put in $5,000, and the city is going to put in $15,000. If the client is including the labor costs in there, they're going to apply for a $15,000 grant. And they're going to have a project, and they'll just walk through, you know, say doing something on the facade with new windows. If the Davis-Bacon Acts are, hey, look, we're going to include the labor as part of this, it may end up being, like you said, kind of a 50-50 split. We can spend $10,000 on windows and then $10,000 on the labor. If we say no, you can only, then for them, you know, as part of their contribution, they can still ask for that funds, ask for those funds, but instead of, you know, their $5,000 contribution, that their contribution can go towards the labor cost, and they can spend $15,000 on windows. And so you can get something higher quality, or you can do windows something else, because they're paying their portion of the grant that they're paying for is paying for the labor part. None of the Davis-Bacon applies. And so I think that's what we're trying to say is out of that pot, if we take out those requirements, we can spend more money on materials. They're still getting the same amount, and hopefully at the end of the day, we're going to get a better product.
and
I got it.
and the labor we're paying is still the market rate
Right.
labor in the area. So
Yes.
it's not like they're getting less than the market rate. I think I'm going to entertain a motion.
I would like to move to accept this rewriting of, oh goodness sakes, go back to what the name of it is, of the grant facade, the facade grant policies and procedures, the new version. I move to
A
accept.
second.
Second by Debbie, I believe, right, Deb?
Yep.
Yep. Motion made, second by Debbie in regard to the proposed changes that have been discussed for the commercial facade improvement grant program.
Nobody
Any
wants.
other questions or comments, please? If not, we shall vote. All those in favor, sing by saying aye.
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 Opposed, Kathy? I heard you say aye. That's good.
I said aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Discussion. Number 3, consideration of possible action request to approve whole harmless agreement with Downtown Green Bay Inc. for a temporary outdoor dining space at 204, 206, 208, and 210 North Washington Street, tax parcel 12-65, 12-66, 12-67, and 12-68. Kev? Who's got this guy?
This would be a combination of myself and Mr. Buchanan. So we have a proposal before us for Downtown Green Bay Incorporated to set up an outdoor downtown dining room on a portion of the Adams Street lot. The goal of this facility would be to provide space for our downtown restaurants to have so for individuals who are going and doing takeout, they would have a spot to sit downtown and dine outside. Mr. Marcus is probably answer some more specific questions about how this would be rolled out. But really, if you look at, you know, a number of our downtown restaurants, they're in small spaces, they're tight quarters, they don't have room for indoor dining. And in other cases, right, the sidewalk is limited, or maybe there's only one parking space out in front. So in terms of, you know, trying to continue business, they're limited if customers want to come and dine.
Yes.
And so Downtown Green Bay Incorporated is proposing take a portion of the Adams Street lot, and I'm going to hopefully not kill this meeting here and bring this up. So this would be the very far western portion of the Adams Street lot. The top right-hand corner is the Bay Lake Bank Building, Washington Street. So they'd look at taking this first aisle and all the stalls here for an outdoor dining area. Because this does impact the potential for parking revenue in here, there will have to be some discussions with our parking utility and potentially any revenue lost for this because of this space. But with that, we feel this is really important to the businesses downtown, providing that opportunity. The hold harmless would allow downtown Green Bay to conduct this activity. They would be responsible, for the setup and takedown. And then as they would get to do this until the end of August, with then at the discretion of myself and the Public Works Director, if things work out, to continue this on and into the fall to extend the term. The agreement would authorize basically staff to extend it if things were going well. If they're not going well, you got 48 hours to clean it up. But look, I mean, you've seen the work that downtown Green Bay has done, and I anticipate to build it. And so with that, we are recommending approval of the home hard list. And as I said, I believe Mr. Marcus is on the call if you have any specific questions.
Mr. Marcus, give us your interpretation.
Our organization is a member of the International Downtown Association, and we are seeing that many other communities, even locally, are municipalities and downtown organizations are creating a safe space for patrons. We have identified that the restaurant segment that's the most fragile. They need assistance. You just approved information related to the parklets. We think that this would be a complement to the parklet program. While we're very pleased that downtown has quite a few establishments that already have outdoor dining, Angelina, Hagemeister, Public Chop House, there's quite a few, even Herbert's and Gerbert's. So there's a fair amount of outdoor dining there, but there are establishments like Subway's, Diamonds American Diner, Scallywags, Vibe, Nectar. A number of these small businesses would benefit significantly by outdoor larger component concept. We think the location is perfect, centrally located, using what we see as somewhat underutilized parking at this point in time. It really only accounts for about 20 parking spaces in this lot. We have talked to the nearby businesses and they like this idea. We believe that maybe 15 nearby restaurants would benefit from this, even if they have an outdoor patio. There also is this social component that goes along with having this dining room. We look forward to downtown employees coming back. We're seeing that already. This would be a good, safe place to catch up, bump into other people and then also patronize nearby restaurants. We're pretty sure that there's another segment of business that will benefit by this, nearby retail. We think this will be a pedestrian traffic generator. Obviously, we want to do it in a very safe manner. So safety is paramount as we proceed with the planning of this.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea.
Alder.
Yeah, and I love the idea, and I'm fully in support of it. And we are again taking money away from parking utility, and this keeps happening. So, what plan could we have in place, or has anyone discussed or Grenier yet?
No, I was going to give this to him tomorrow and tell him we did it. So
That's a really good plan.
No, we have discussed parking utility is basically, look, it's no secret the Adams Street lot is the most popular surface parking lot downtown. And so his staff has calculated what is a day rate, basically, per stall per day, what's the average revenue generated for that stall. So if we take X number of stalls here, I think it's like 20 something off, for a period of time, what would be the cumulative amount of a potential lost revenue? And so, again, I think this would be something that with our discussions, what is, and I would look at two comparisons. I mean, one year over year, right? Because if this was normally filled, but then also, month over month. Obviously, a lot of workplaces downtown have not had employees or have not had customers come down. And so, just anecdotally, the lot hasn't been as full as it has been in the past. And so it would be some discussions, with Director Grenier, with Parking Utility. We've talked with Director Allenbecker about this, and we've discussed at our development team that we could potentially use either, again, CARES funding or more likely funding from the TID to be able to offset potential lost revenue from here. Again, I think it's important that, we keep these entities whole. I'm hopeful that, if things work out, you might even see more revenue coming in because people would have another reason to come downtown because this would be a cool, maybe a restaurant I wouldn't have gone to. Now I can get takeout and sit outside. So we don't know what we know yet. So that's why our proposal is let's, try it for now through the month of August and then adjust if we need to for the fall.
And so that's the concept right now, Jeff and Kevin, is this is just really to run for 6 weeks, see how it works, and then decide how to go from there.
Yeah, I think the agreement would basically, I mean, if you want it to come back to RDA, you can. I'm authorizing myself as the director and the Public Works Director who oversees the parking utility continuance.
Yeah, because if it's nice, we should just do it right in through September. I mean, September is always a nice month now. So.
Mhm.
And it's fair to say right now that all 20 of those lots are not being filled. I mean, normally before the virus they were, but right now they are not. Is that a true statement in that parking ramp?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak anecdotally. I'm not there all the time, but when things are running, that lot is close to 100% occupancy.
Right.
More recently at lunchtime, I would say maybe it's a third full.
Oh, wow. Big difference. I think it's great for a trial period.
And is there any way you can use CARES Act funding for it?
We will investigate as a potential, again, waiting for the rules. And so, again, I think as long as we can, square up by the end of the fiscal year, we'll find the appropriate source to use.
Okay. Yeah, because I think this would be awesome for the businesses downtown, into the future, because a lot of times you just want to go sit outside somewhere with a covering over your head. So, and not at the specific restaurant.
Sounds like a motion, Kathy.
I'll make a motion that we definitely approve this. And assessment of, well, here, I'm supposed to read it, right? I got the wrong one up. That we approve downtown Green Bay to create a safe space so people can enjoy their lunch downtown through August 30th and beyond, deemed by the director.
Agreement with downtown Green Bay Inc. Right?
Here it is. I had the wrong one up.
Okay.
Can I add an amendment
Yes.
to that?
Sure.
Oh, but may I ask if it's needed for Director Vaughn? Is an amendment needed that we would look for funds to reimburse parking utility? Or is that assumed without me adding that?
Look, I think that would be an acceptable amendment just to make it clear of the intentions.
The intentions?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kathy, you
So
go
then-
along with that? You go along with the motion?
Yes. I'm looking, okay, I got hold harmless agreement, Adams Street. So we're proposing we approve the hold harmless agreement on the Adams Street lot with downtown Green Bay Business Incorporated for outdoor dining space. And the
And-
and to hold them harmless.
We would work with parking utility to ensure that there is no loss of revenue.
Good point. And we'll
That was
add
the
that.
amendment. Yes, that was the amendment.
Sorry.
Kathy's motion. Looking for a second.
I'll second the motion that I helped make.
Sorry, Barb, I was reading it from the thing.
Okay, very good.
Been one of
Motion-
those days.
Motion made by Kathy, everybody heard it, and second by Elder Dorf. Questions or comments?
No.
Yes, Jeff, please.
I'd just like to say thank you very much. We have a team at downtown Green Bay. This is what we consider an all hands on deck project. So we are going to work on it. I did want to point out that it's in the early stages of planning. This will not be going up tomorrow. We needed the blessing from the city. We hope that the city really does continue to partner with us on projects like this. We think that this, at this point in time, is the best use of this corner, this space. And I want to say thank you very much for your support of what we're going to start out on.
Any other questions or comments before the vote?
Nope.
All those in favor, sing by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Good luck, Jeff. I'm sure you do a great job.
Yeah, awesome.
Excellent. Number 4, consideration with possible action to purchase 2 properties from the Brown County Treasurer using Neighborhood Enhancement Fund. Must be Ken.
You got it, Gary. The county has come to the RDA with actually 7 properties. Staff looked through those properties, and of the list, we chose 2 of them. 1255 Cherry Street is a buildable lot. It is in a neighborhood that I think we could use some new construction. We'll list it under our New Homes in Your Neighborhood program, and hopefully be able to get a new build there relatively soon. We do have, if you look there, it's actually an interesting street because it's a through lot where the back of it butts up to St. Clair. We have a conversion grant that's ongoing right now on St. Clair, as well as another vacant lot up that we're working with DPW right now. We'll be coming back to the yard to hopefully get more new construction on that block. The price for 1255 Cherry, we're at $5,938.54. That is the back taxes on it. We will be on the hook if we don't purchase it for the demolition of the property. We demolished that about years ago, through our demo process. So this one, I think it's a good buildable lot in a neighborhood that we could use some new construction. 2475 Remington Road. This one's out on the east side of Green Bay. Oh. You guys still hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes.
Sorry, my computer just went completely blank.
Sorry about that.
No, that's my computer. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, 2475 Remington Road. This parcel was supposed to have been deeded to the city of Green Bay when there was a developer out in that area that put in some new housing. And for one reason or another, the property never got deeded over. I don't think that the owner even knew that they owned it. So eventually went back to the county. I worked out a deal with the county treasurer. Basically the $319.61 that we'll be paying for this are the legal fees that the county put into listing the property, the foreclosure, putting new lock. Actually, this one doesn't have locks, but any of their, staff work, we'll just be paying that price on this. And then I'll be working again with DPW on this to get it into the city's name and combine with the other city parcel that is immediately to the south of this property. So this one is more of we're just getting it into city control, more of like a cleanup of the parcels in that neighborhood. So yeah, with that, we're looking to get approval for the purchase of the 2 properties from Brown County Treasurer.
The second one, you see you're building a house, spec home on there? What do you think?
No, that one, it'll be just going to the city as like stormwater management. It's a very wet site. It's not in the floodplain, but I believe there's a pond on it, so it's like a wetland for that subdivision. So that'll just be going into the city's name and be like city green space.
And certainly sound like the price is right. You said $319, that what you said?
Yes, and that, like I said, was just the county's fees for listing their parcel.
Yeah, wow.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Move to approve. Unless,
A motion,
Second,
by Alder to approve, and second, I'm sorry, was it Kathy?
Yep.
Was it Kathy? Yep, Kathy. Any other questions? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Ken, here's an off-the-wall question. Now, you've given us a list in the past of all the properties we own. What do you think last year the net result is? We must have, because now we're adding two, which is great. We're adding one, really, because the only one that we could develop, the other one we can't. What do you think net result is of that list? Have we been knocking a couple off, positive 3, 4? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Last year, the New Homes in Your Neighborhood program, I should say last fall into this winter and spring, we actually had the most movement that I've seen since I started in 2015. We had a total of 6 new builds plus 2 more on the way right now. So yeah, we moved 8 properties last year.
Excellent.
yeah,
Great.
that's awesome.
It is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
Next
thank
we have
you.
Ken. You're a good negotiator. We appreciate that. Okay, informational. Number 1, tax incremental district annual report. TID. We must have our CFO on, right? No?
Yes. So this will be a combination of myself and Ms. Ellenbecker. I think what we'll go through in your packet, we included the PE 300. Those are the ones were mandated by the state to send in every year.
Yes.
That really kind of looks at the performance of each of our tax increment districts. And then I think the cover was a spreadsheet that just kind of at a glance shows all of them, at once when they're created, basically revenues, expenditures, and then projections, where we hope to be in the future. So this will be a little bit of a repeat what we did with our joint review board meeting last week. But I think what I'll go through is I'll take a lead and talk about this. And then you have, again, in your packet, the finances. If there's any specific questions about projects or finances, either myself or Ms. Ellenbecker can answer them.
Great.
So if you'd like to get a cup of coffee or do whatever you need to do. If you want to start knitting on my mask while you're all right, so can you see the slideshow, TID projects update?
Looks like it. Yes.
So this is a year-end report. So this is the year-end of 2019. We basically go through and compile the report. So these are all the districts we had at the end of 2019. And this is the report on activities in those districts. TID 4, again, it's currently our oldest TID, done in 98, basically to support some downtown development, namely the Washington Square Apartments, which is now Riverside Place. Some of the funds from that also go to help offset debt service, or did debt service on the Cherry Street ramp. That's an older one, and based on the finances and projections, we're running out of additional expenses. So it's set to close in 2025, but that may be a candidate for closure early in the next few years. With that, again, there's no new activities in that TID. So it's one that's just, winding it down. This is our last year that we can make expenditures in it, and I don't anticipate any additional ones.
Okay.
TID 5, we made some changes to last year. This was going at the end of 2018 district. We lopped off a good chunk of the southwestern part of this district to create TID 22. You can do overlapping tax increment jurisdictions, but just it's tough on accountants and hits the track with everything, our assessor, property lister. So we separated fund the shipyard projects. So TID 5, again, it's one of our older TIDs, created in 99. It's set to expire. And obviously, there's been a lot of activity in the downtown area. Our Adams Street parking lot, which we talked about parking in today for, as a temporary use. We went through the path of request for proposals the other year. Again, there's been movement with the Bay Lake Bank building. But I feel probably in the next few months, we'll be able to revisit this and see about development again on this site. It's one that I think it's a great development site and really should look at and what it might mean for the future. The other project that moved forward in this TID, and we'll actually talk about creating a new TID for it, is the One Astor project. This is south of Mason Street. This is done by Miller Land Investments, LLC. And what we talked about here, phase 1, which is going on right now, is demolishing the old Kircher metal building, bringing the site out of the floodplain, and then relocating so it moves from Adams Street back out to the river. So that work's going on right now. And then in there's a potential for the developer to do a phase 2, which would be a 4-story residential unit, about 100 market rate units, about $13 million assessed value. Developer is, kind of waiting to see what's happening with the market and has the ability to move forward with that, probably starting next year. But again, this would be another candidate potentially for a new tax increment district of TID 5.
So that project is kind of on hold right now. I mean, it's not moving forward. I see lots of ground there.
Yeah, no, it is moving forward. The site got brought out of the floodplain. The dirt needed some time to settle.
Okay. Okay.
And right now we're working on constructing the trail. One of the things we're working through is, this is, I believe, the end of Cass Street here, trying to work with the adjacent property owner in terms of how that trail would curve back to the original trail. So there's some property issues, easement things, or what exactly that design is going to be. But that trail will be done this year. And at minimum, the site will be, seeded back, grassed back, to a stable state, with then, again, the developer has the ability to move forward with that project starting next year.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Sure. Anything else on, this is just a picture of, what was proposed long-term development at that site.
Great location. Especially
Yeah.
once we move those coal piles, which I'm going to ask you about later, but we won't talk about that now.
Okay. Anything else on TID 5?
No.
Okay. TID 7, you're going to see a little deja vu talking about TID 9 and TID 12. We went through the process last year talking about allocating funds from these districts, primarily to 9, which is University Heights, to help shut it down. Doing an affordable housing extension, and then closure earlier. So some of those will start this year. We're going to go through the process again. DOR requires you actually to pass the resolution in the year that you're doing those things. So we're going to be doing it again. I think it was good we did it last year, because I think it's important to show to you, to show to our council, and to show to the Joint Review Board how they're all kind of tied together as we close things and then move things forward. So, I mean, we did pass resolutions. So, again, I feel strongly about us, continuing down that track. This year, we'll just be going through and doing the formal motions to get the approvals to do the allocations, extensions, and closures. So TID 7 corridor, that one, again, as I mentioned, slated for an allocation to TID 9. We'll do 1 year of affordable housing extension and then shut that one down. Same thing for TID 8. This is the Berger Morrow over on the near east. No really new projects, so we'll just continue what we started last year in terms of allocation to 9, affordable housing extension, and then closure. TID 9, the one small change with this one, even though we're still projecting and proposing a closure of this. There's an outside chance for an affordable housing project out in this area, so we may make an amendment to the project plan just to see if that pans out at all. Regardless, it's still going to need allocations from the other TIDs to get it right side up. But we may look at that as a potential, I'll call it last chance to be able to keep it open. But otherwise, we'll still go on track of turning this one, closing it early.
Yeah.
Uh, 10 is Main and Mason. Again, near east side of the city. And 4, the last project we did a few years ago, working with Green Bay Real Estate, GB Real Estate Investments, to do a few small projects. That was the North Shore Bank, Arby's, and Familia Dental. That is now all fully aligned and assessed and bringing in some increment into that area. That we will look at in this area is potentially some additional expenses for stormwater management. For those of you on the east side, especially in and around the town of Preble, that system was not built to handle big rains at once. And so we've made investments in this area, and so have other property owners. We'd like to protect those. So we will be working with DPW on potential stormwater management infrastructure out in this area. So that's some additional expenses out here. But otherwise, this TID is quite healthy.
Kevin, a quick question. Back to 9 real quick, and I apologize that I asked.
Yep, that's okay.
So that, that industrial park really has not lived up to its potential. Do you see things changing at all? I mean, you mentioned a small project, affordable housing or whatever, but other than that, wow, it just, there's no good reason why it shouldn't have lived up to potential, but it really hasn't.
Correct. One, I think there's a perception of the location. Sometimes the trouble we have with site selectors when they use data, I mean, they look at interstate highway. Though it functions, 54, 57 functions as an interstate highway, it's not part of the interstate. So for many, it's already off the list, even though it's very close and really closer probably than some of the farthest reaches of the I-43 business park. It just doesn't hit the radar for individuals because it's quote unquote, too far out there. So, the challenges with first one in, well, I don't know where this park is going to go in the future. And I think at the time in terms of when development, when this was created, back in 2003, I mean, the late 90s, I mean, it was a very different time for development in the city.
Yes.
And, in terms of like housing preferences and locations, and whether that was, a lot of that was real, but some of that was also pretty speculative. Probably was created at the worst time. Then, this TID got created, and we had the crash, in 06 through 08, and it just got rolling. And so, I think again, potentially see if this plays out. Otherwise, like we've been doing with more projects, for more tax increment districts, wait until there's a project or 2 or 4, kind of in the queue to create the district and get the.
I-43 is just the opposite. Tremendous success. We come out way ahead on that project. That must be almost full now. With that in mind, this would be the next logical spot.
It is. We're also looking at potentially expanding I-43. We're actually in part of it to help both of this and actually throughout the city. We're working through that in our department to do a market study on industrial needs in the community.
Yes.
So helping us kind of see where the market is at. I mean, anecdotally, it's tight, but that will help give us some better data on where the preferred locations may be. Some of them are going to be in I-43. Some of them potentially may be out here, and some of them we may just not know about yet.
That'd be a very valuable study. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. TID 12, as you mentioned, has been quite successful. And as I mentioned, we're looking at potentially the next phases of this. In terms of projects going on right now, additional expenditures, We have been working to improve the infrastructure out in that area. We have a pretty healthy cash balance in the fund. And so we would like to, use cash to pay for the improvements that are needed to expand the business park. There's some deep line sewer that needs to get expanded in that area to make it serviceable, along with water, and then some street improvements. And so by using those funds, which this TID is pretty huge, especially along Erie, Grandview, that area, will allow us, when we set up a new TID, to kind of get it in good shape. We don't have to go into deep debt out of the gate on a new tax increment district out there.
Great.
So we're very pleased with how that's been performing. Obviously, Nature's Way, Commissioner Schuler, right, coming live from more than a farm field now. Well, he's probably at the older office.
I'm still at the older one, Kevin.
Okay.
We won't have the new one done till early next year.
All right. So the production facility is up and running. And as we talked about here a few months ago, construction on their new office building will begin shortly. And so we've been very pleased with the development there. And again, are looking to continue working with them and other entities to grow that tax increment district.
Good.
All right, TID 13, our other big downtown TID created in 2005. This helped facilitate expansion of the KI, industry for Schreiber Foods, some riverfront residential development projects. This one, 2019, Hotel Northland, finally up and running. Right, well worth the wait, doing excellent. Obviously until the pandemic, but they've been able to, muddle through. And so we're very pleased with how that has been in terms of its performance and now being fully assessed for that tax increment district. They've been able to meet all the benchmarks that they needed for that project. And then we also used TID 13 to pick up the Associated Bank lot. And that was a few things. One, to help with our parking needs in the downtown area. As these businesses are filling up and with hospitality, we sometimes have stress on our parking facilities. So to be able to use this to accommodate additional parking, knowing that the Main Street ramp is going to be coming down in the foreseeable future, it's good for us as a city just to preserve parking spaces. But then also the other reason we did it, long term, we don't want to see the surface parking. It's an awesome development site on a major corridor through our downtown. So we worked, put out an RFP, had two very good, but very different proposals for development at this site. Elected to go forward with Gorman, which would be a project probably estimated around $11–12 million of value that bring a number of affordable housing apartment units, along with Mauer's Market, a grocery store that everyone's been wanting to see in our downtown. And so we've been working with Gorman. Obviously, there's been changes in terms of tax credits and funding, and Commissioner Dean could probably attest to that. But they are very, very committed to the site and are really working on a number of angles to make the financing work. So we should see this come through, as I said, this year to get a formal development agreement, and then next year. This will also be one that we'll probably look at a new tax increment district for. Even though you can do things within a half mile of the TID, this one will probably need its own, just in terms of looking at how the development is going to be financed.
Okay. Great project.
I can't wait for that one.
Me too.
TID 14, we expanded the boundaries last year to include a few more properties, also renamed it the Rail Yard, because that's what it is. And so we wanted to make that official. There's a lot of substantial activity over here. Since the development of the warehouses, buildings RS and T, DDL Holdings has been busy renovating those warehouses, starting with building R, which is on the furthest south into office spaces. Next, working on S and T. with T being potentially a combination of office and or residential. And then combined with that, part of that original agreement as the master developer was to do some condos in that area. Those have also been constructed and came online. Between those two projects, you're probably looking somewhere around $14 to $16 million assessment when those are built out. Also coming through in that area, we've been very pleased working with TWG Development out of Indianapolis. Their first project was Broadway Lofts, and that's at the very far north end of the rail yard area. This is a 4-story structure, 93 units in the apartment, and then 14 more in townhomes. These are all going to be all affordable units, which is adding very much to the stock in our community. And all in this would be about a $7.5 million project. Again, we really liked working with them. They really saw the demand in this area. And so earlier we approved their second project, which is the Fort. And that'll be located down at Broadway and Kellogg. This is a pretty substantial project, 225 market rate apartment units with some, we'll call it not quite affordable, but maybe 100% of median income units in there, some retail space, other great amenities. And this we project to be somewhere around a $21 million assessment when completed. So lots of activity at the rail yard in 2019, and we hope to continue that forward this year. In terms of just additional expenses, we did do some additional borrowing for this. In some cases, we've been using TID balance to pay for some of the infrastructure up front. However, because all of these came online really so fast, we needed to basically build all the infrastructure for the rail yard at once. Water, utilities, the streets. And so with that, we did allocate some borrowing, which was allowed per the development agreement. It just now reflected in the balances of the revenues and then debt service that's going to be incurred on those lines.
Very attractive building. I like it.
TID 16 Military Avenue, done in 2007. There's been a long journey with this TID. I think before my time, it got declared distressed, was really not in good shape. But we're finally, I think as Director Ellenbecker said, seeing the light, getting close to our revenues outpacing our expenditures. And so we're very close to coming above board in terms of the fund balance there, and in future, our revenues will exceed the expenditures for this tax increment district. Within it, our prime development spot, we continue to have some very good conversations with a new property owner who acquired this probably about a year and a half ago. The redevelopment of this area has some very successful retail tenants in there. Obviously, the vacancies and the empty office max space are to be repurposed along with a lot of that parking area. So we're hopeful that very soon we'll have an agreement to move forward with some redevelopment in this area here and help out the rest of that district.
It'd be awesome.
That'd be, yeah, very awesome. Good.
Yeah, and now Tuesday mornings, I think, is leaving too.
Yeah, right. I mean, retail world was crazy going into the pandemic, and for a lot of the retailers that were on the edge, the pandemic just accelerated probably the inevitable. And so, I mean, with that, yes, it's disappointing to lose some of those, but there's also other tenants and other retailers who are interested in being in those spaces, along with entrepreneurs who are excited about, potentially, taking up new spaces as well.
Good.
Good.
All right, TID 17, again, just taking the final steps of closure on this one. We were able to settle a outstanding court case on this, so that should give us some better indication of finalizing the finances in terms of closing the hole on the fund balance. It's a pretty small gap, but we should be able to allocate from the other TIDs to get this one finally closed and done. University Avenue, created in 2015. This has been a good TID, created, facilitated the development or redevelopment. University Triangle, led by the Festival of Foods, the Outlot. This picture now obviously dated. The Quick Trip is in, and then the parking lot on the left will be where Dollar Tree will be under construction. And so that has served as definitely a catalyst for that area. All in, probably about an additional $15 million of assessed value for the TID. It was followed by development called University Heights at Baird Creek. This development is the old JBS meat processing. The goal here is to do 300 plus residential units over the next few years. The first 2 structures have been constructed. I believe they've worked with UW Green Bay in terms of providing some housing for their students. When this is all said and done, we're probably looking $20 to $22 million project for all of those apartment units out there.
Great.
All right, TID 19 is East Mason, East Main. This is one created in 2017 around the commercial hub of the east side. This is the old Cub Foods. This is successfully, now all fully assessed and fully occupied. This was working with an owner, Learcy out of Chicago, to repurpose this into some retail spaces. All in, it's about an $8 million value project. And then the East Town Mall, which obviously, right, I mean, we've had some fits and starts with, and probably not as far along as we would like to be on this. However, we did not put any money into the deal up front, and still really believe that this serves as a great redevelopment site. And then the massive parking lot. So we'll continue to work to bring a project forward here. Meanwhile, all the outlots, continue to be, and we see some other growth within this tax increment district.
Great.
TID 20, Whitney Park. This has been one, I would say, also very, very ripe with activity in 2019. So we've seen a lot of projects if you've been in that neighborhood. Whitney Park Townhomes, Phase 4, GB Real Estate Investments. We got 4 owner-occupied townhomes, estimated between $800,000 and $900,000 of new value. Those are all up and constructed. And as you dealt with here, moving on to the next phase to construct an additional 4 to 6 units right to the north of this. Also, GB Real Estate Investments, 901 Main was completed. This was built 3-story structure, 20 apartment units, some retail space on the ground. It's about a $2.5 million new value, and they are open for leasing. And then also Whitney School opened with 2 parts of this project. This was done by Milwaukee View. The apartments, 23 market rate apartments in the historic school building. Just beautiful inside, really a nod to historic preservation in our community, a great example of it. Still, and I had to put in, right, my favorite, the bubblers are gone, but they still left the marble in behind it. So my favorite part of that building. That project, another $2.5 million online. And then in the back on the parking lot, they're getting close to finishing up the first 6 townhomes. Those are the owner-occupied townhomes and should be completed later this year. When all dozen townhomes are done, they'll probably be another $2.5 million of value on that property. So lots of residential activity in Whitney Park, and hope to continue that progress there.
Any idea on occupancy on the Whitney School? Has that been going well?
I believe so. I do need to check in. I mean, I'm not sure changed in terms of with the pandemic, but I will say in terms of just housing, I mean, it really doesn't change the need for housing.
Great.
So I do have to check in. I don't know If Mr. Merkus has any insight into the particular lease ups for each of those.
Whitney School, the school portion, about 2 weeks ago, they were at 75% occupied,
Wow.
leasing going very well. So
Excellent.
16 of their 23 units were occupied. And then over at 901 Main, they were also very robust, nearing full occupancy.
Wow, that's excellent. These will go too. These townhouses will definitely go. Great location.
Yeah.
Those will do well. Any chance, Kevin, that we can buy the old Greyhound bus station? It's kind of an eyesore from those apartments.
Yes.
Without talking our radar.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
That's fine.
TID 21, Green Bay Packaging. This tax increment district was created for our largest single development project, I'll say ever, in the city. And so we have a $580 million project that is well underway to completion. The progress has been swift, substantial. If you see the structure itself is getting near completion. Their goal to have that project wrapped up next year. So they've also made some improvements to the box plant across the street. And we're very pleased with the progress and look forward to continuing working with them on that.
Fantastic project. No way we could have lost that. we couldn't. We didn't.
No, we're very fortunate that parties were able to come together and strike a deal to get that done.
We were a good partner, though. We did things there too. We were a good partner.
We try to be.
Absolutely.
All right, so those are the ones that were in the report because we had full finances for. What we did in 2019 is create 2 new districts. TID 22 was for the shipyard. And this was really parcels we took away off TID 5 and then moved things a little further south, what we consider kind of the core development area of the shipyard. This is, of course, built around the south slip and then the shipyard itself. So what we saw last year, we changed from an athletic field to an outdoor recreation space and entertainment space. We've had some discussion here earlier this year just about, in terms of phasing and timing of where things are at. We should be wrapping up the filling and grading soon, and then we'll come back to have some discussions about the next steps for development here. Of course, all of us are wishing that water would go down, which would give us a little more flexibility on things. But with that, we'll just can't control Mother Nature, and we will take things as we need them to get them done right. But I think the community, the neighborhood's very excited about this area. We also, again, with the shipyard in 2019, made a transition from on the north side of the slip, the Breakthrough headquarters, who will still continue to work with on their relocation. But thankfully, we had another developer, Merge Urban Development, who was very interested in the site and went through and had a term sheet proposing 225 market rate units here, along with some retail restaurant space, and really taking advantage with some density on this side of the slip. We had a term sheet with them and look forward. We're currently working on the development agreement, and hopefully we'll get it to you this summer, early this fall, to move forward with that development. We're really pleased that they kind of stuck it out with us, but we like the work that they've done. They're excited, again, to add some housing units into this area and really help jumpstart the other projects in the shipyard area.
Anything new on Breakthrough Fuels?
At this moment, I do not have anything. I think like others, the pandemic, they've been looking overall at their operations and offices. So they still would like to be in the city, but I do not have a specific update right now.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. One of the other things we'll also do with this TID is we will probably move some debt service and expenses that were encumbered in TID 5 when we first moved forward with this project and put them on to TID 22. This is one, generally, we've been doing a lot of pay-go. But this, TID, we believe, did require some public investment really to move it forward. And so you'll see next year some of that moved from TID 5 over to this tax increment district. And then I think Director Elmecker, correct me, I think we're also taking some trust fund bonds that we used for the early part of this project for acquisition and design. And I think Finance Committee is talking about refinancing those tonight.
Yes, that is correct. We expect that we can have some savings on it if we refinance them.
The Director Ellenbecker, is that,
Yes.
did I pronounce that right? Ellenbecker?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So which of all these TIDs and all the information you just gave us, which ones keep you awake at night? Are you comfortable where we're going?
I am comfortable where we're going. As Director Vong said, there were a few places where, in hindsight, we decided to pay out some infrastructure or some developer grants and without borrowing, because we were trying to decide, do we balance less debt or do we have a negative TIF? So in 2019, we only had one borrowing for the shipyard. As Director Vong had said, that we actually we just approved 2020 borrowing. And we did borrow money for the rail yard, a $3 million infrastructure borrowing. And we also have another additional $2 million for the shipyard. That will help two of our larger TIDs fund balances come more in the black from the red. Many of these are on their way up. Many of them within a couple of years, we will be out of the red and back in the black on these TIDs. That very common, as Director has said many times before, you kind of have to go down before you go back up. And over the last couple of years, the change in philosophy on how we do the TIDs has been very beneficial. As pay goes, very few, very limited upfront grants. And if they are upfront grants, there has to be development and there has to be some guarantees that the development goes with it. So we don't have in any case where we put money out and then we didn't get what we intended that money would get us. So, a couple of years from now, some of these TIDs are going to look, they're going to be in fantastic shape.
Good. One could comment on the shipyard. This is a beautiful building, and also the design for the rest of the shipyard is by far a better proposal for the residents in the area. I mean, it's exactly what they wanted. We had a lot of good input from the listening sessions. So I think we're definitely going in the right direction on the whole shipyard.
Yeah.
All right, home stretch, TID 23, Legends District. This was created development of the Legacy Hotel. And also captured a number of undeveloped parcels or parcels that were just parking lots with future plans or ideas that were captured in the Legends District plan that we did a few years ago. So again, the Legacy Hotel, that building is no more. And this will be in its place, which will be under construction soon. This is a project, it's an all suites boutique hotel. Which we anticipate, I think, will come in about $12 million valuation when completed. And then we continue, there's just a handful of property owners in them on potential redevelopment of their properties. We've also been looking in terms of expenditures. Again, this area gets very busy when there's events, and yes, it will be busy again someday. Maybe not as busy this fall, but it won't be forever. So we are taking the opportunity to go through and bury some of the power lines and put it in sites in that area to really help with events at the stadium, Resch, and in the future, the expo hall. So some of that work may start this fall or next spring to make some of those public improvements so then those sites become even more attractive for development.
Yeah, very attractive building. It's in the right spot, that's for sure.
Yes, yeah, we have great views. So then just what will be coming before you later this year, proposal for potentially 2 new tax increment districts. One of them, Adams, Chicago, will look at the very far south side of downtown as it transitions to Astor. This will pull in the One Aster project on the river, potentially pull in the Royal Cleaner sites, which is environmental cleanup right now. If you go over there, you can probably see the huge piles of dirt that are getting hauled away. Along with, we own some property at Chicago and Monroe. Final boundary is still to be determined exactly what we're going to pull in, but this we really believe will help facilitate some development, primarily residential development that helps transition between downtown and the residential neighborhood Astor to the south.
Okay.
And then another proposal for creating TID 25. Right now, it's probably just looking at our Associated Bay proper and may pull in an extra parcel or two. We talked a lot about, potentially, expanding the Whitney TID, TID 20 to encompass this. But because that TID is really doing so well, all of those projects have been paid. And it's really focused on residential. This is a little bit different in terms of the development focus. And we did spend some money to purchase that parking lot. Felt it would be better to perhaps pursue a tax increment district just on this site itself. Two new TIDs will be proposed when we go through our process later this summer into the fall.
Okay.
So just a summary of what we did at JRB, and again, what RDA be looking at. Again, I'll call this going through the motions page again for 7, 8, 9, and 12 of doing these allocation amendments, affordable housing resolution, termination resolution. Yes, Director Ellenbecker, I think if you go to the spreadsheet, the summary spreadsheet, at the very far right, the only one that never crawls out is TID 9. And that for me is the one that's most frustrating. And so to get some closure on that, I think will help put us in good shape.
Yes.
And then we would still like to propose an extension resolution, adding 3 more years to TID 14. That got held last year, terminating 17 and then creating 24. So that is my TID talk, and happy to answer any other questions. Or Director Ellenbecker.
Excellent update.
That was fabulous.
Kevin, we talked about on a regular basis that the 3 things we're most interested in are the TIDs. So is July the right month? That every July an update on this one?
Yes, I would say June or July. By state statute, we're required to do these reports by the end of June and then have a JRB meeting. So we're doing them. So either June or July is the perfect time to do them. It also sets up just our tradition here has been putting all our TIDs into one JRB meeting that we usually go through a cycle in late summer, early fall. So yeah, this time to do it.
All right. And the other 2, of course, is the properties we own that probably near year end. And then of course the bond, where we're bonding.
Yep.
What month would you think that'd be the best for the bonding one? Bonding report?
The bonding probably, I think, in my understanding, Director Ellenbecker, we're going to, I think finally in 2020, align with the operating budget. So most likely in November. I don't want to have her do it before because she's doing the budget. So
right.
Probably like right after that, I would say, January when things are kind of, here's where we're going.
Okay.
And then property is probably, sometime in the spring before the sales season starts.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent update. Good recap. We very much appreciate it. Number 2, an informational report on Street. I think we're going to get a little video update on that, right, Ken? Tax parcel 4-96. Ken, you there? Yes, he is. So, buddy.
All right.
Give us an update on what's happening on.
Yeah, and actually, Kevin has a video. I just uploaded it, so I'm hoping it works. Otherwise,
So I got it, and I'm going to see if I can play this on my computer. Do I need sound with it?
no.
Okay. Let me get it up in the right screen here, and then I will share. All right. Can you see the corner of Maple and Hubbard?
Wow, yes, beautiful.
Okay. Ken, I think you can probably narrate as this goes.
I love it.
Yeah, I like the colors.
I have to go to another meeting. Sorry.
Okay.
Bye, Debbie.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Deb. And is this that same carpenter that you've been working with, that we took a couple of tours with?
Yes, this was built by Lemens Quality Homes.
Yep. Beautiful. Wow. This looks like someone's living here. Wow.
That's really awesome.
That's really nice.
Nice open space.
Mm-hmm.
What's left to be done besides the front steps?
Yeah, well, we have to do the grading, some landscaping.
Well, sure.
I'm hanging some mirrors. You'll see here that they're just set out right now, but towel bars, but good to go.
Wow, very good. Just you just tell it high quality workmanship. You just tell it by looking at it.
I have to hang pictures too. It's the little. Right now. That's my dog.
We figured that.
We figured that. Yeah, right.
And it's very impressive. You've done this all in one take so far.
Yeah.
And you made the bed.
I make my bed every day.
So, in hindsight,
I start the day off organized.
so with hindsight, any changes you'd have done differently?
There is, yes, one of my, oh, there I am. One of my lights that controls the lights on the front of my detached garage, I wish I would have put the switch on the inside of the house.
Oh,
But so far, that's it.
okay. Wow, that's great.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So far, I'm loving the neighborhood too. A lot of good neighbors, a lot more activity. I used to live in Astor East River, and you would get like recreational walkers or people going to the hospital, and now you get people going to the store, people going to events. Just a very active, friendly neighborhood.
It has a lot of neat curb appeal. So you're really adding some value to the entire neighborhood.
Yeah. I love the shaker cabinets.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to, make it look like an old, I wanted people to question how old the house was. And I could tell them that it was built in the 20s,
Wow.
the 2000s.
Impressive.
Right.
Wow, and there's 3 bathrooms.
Yes. Yep.
Oh. Yeah.
And that is the end of the tour. I do have a driveway and a patio now. This video was taken about a month ago.
Very nicely
It
done.
looks awesome.
It does. Congrats.
Very nice.
Congrats.
Very nice, Ken.
Yeah, that's just an example of what our New Homes in Your Neighborhood program can do for our neighborhoods. So.
Neat success story.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Number 3, I didn't have any questions at the financial report or check register. Number 4, director's report, unless somebody else did. Director's report and project updates. Kevin, you've been busy like always.
Yeah. Look, I mean, the TID stuff, go through JRB. Also an update unless you have any other specific questions.
Well, like always, I'm always interested in the coal pile and
Yeah.
What's the latest in that?
So we've been continuing to have good conversations. I think Right. I mean, two ends of the party. One, us talking with the WPS, about the potential acquisition and their timetable. And then on the back end, obviously working with C. Rice and their timetable as well. I feel things are starting to fall into place, and likely we'll have some type of agreement in place by the end of the year.
Why, when I drive by the coal pile, it seems to be getting bigger all the time? Am I right, Demetrian?
And not stacking up for winter. A lot of people are going to be home this winter.
It's mainly
No,
fun.
look, I mean, it's one of the things. I mean, I'm not the port expert, but with the high water levels, you're able to get some pretty huge, heavy loaded ships in here. And so normally their loads have been increasing because you can just fit that much more on the boat because there's that much more draft to get these big liners in here. So you're probably going to be seeing more product coming in.
One of the things with the Pulliam plant that was holding us up was trying to get a grant from the state for mediation of the land itself, so we better understood the land. Is that still in progress, and where are we at with that?
Yep. So the path going the legislative route did not pan out. Ran into politics and just couldn't get out of committee last session, and likely won't have a special session to deal with that. So two things. I mean, one to look at that legislative route again in the fall, but then also working through the harbor system to try and get some funds that way as well. And if not through the state, there's also a few federal things that we're working on.
That's what I was going to suggest. If that's the stumbling block that we don't understand the land good enough, is there another way that we can mediate that and find out what we got to find out?
Yeah, I mean, there's some older studies, that have kind of helped us with that. It's just we really want to make sure we know what we're getting into in terms of
Right.
potential development. So yeah, we're exploring a few other channels.
Okay. At one of our last meetings, we talked about the billboard on Main and the conference center billboard. Anything new there?
Next month, we'll likely be coming back, working with the developer on a potential proposal. And look, there'll be a lot of moving parts with it, but taking some of the suggestions that we discussed and coming back with something potential in the future, most likely next month.
Okay. Any from the rest of the committee, any other questions or comments to Kevin or the staff?
Not today.
Okay.
No. And thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, you guys are doing a great job. Absolutely. Next meeting, August 11th. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Alder Dorf, second by Kathy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Excellent.